From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. Presidential candidate for Bolivia's movement towards socialism, Luis Arce, and favourite to win, cast his vote in the country's general elections being held this Sunday.
We hope that the whole day today and the following days will pass in a peaceful way. The movement towards socialism is committed to the democratic solution. We do not take power with weapons. We take power in this democratic way.
And the movement towards socialism's vice presidential candidate, David Choquehuanca, also cast his vote in this Sunday's general elections. After participating in this Sunday's elections, the political leader stressed that the plurinational state of Bolivia was set to recover its democracy. Choquehuanca served as Bolivia's foreign minister from 2006 to 2017 during the government of former President Evo Morales. He's a member of the Aymara indigenous community and has also served as a trade union leader. And presidential candidate of the Citizen Community Political Alliance, Carlos Mesa, also cast his vote at the Bolivian government headquarters. After casting his vote in the city of La Paz, Mesa offered statements to the press and highlighted the importance of these elections and urged citizens to go to the polls. According to all polls, Mesa is set to place second in the presidential race, trailing behind MAS candidate Luis Arce. Mesa criticised the decision of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal regarding the suspension of the planned rapid vote counting system and called on all parties to remain calm and wait patiently for the official election results. And as Bolivians headed to the polls this Sunday, they were met with a huge deployment of police forces by the de facto regime. Our correspondent in Bolivia, Camila Escalante, brings us the details.
I'm in San Roque, which is a rural area of Bolivia where citizens are casting their votes. Voting in Bolivia is largely obligatory. There are penalties for not casting your vote until the age of 70, when you can decide whether or not you want to participate. This, like most rural areas, is projected to vote heavily in favor for the socialist MAS, the movement towards socialism, as in previous elections and as predicted in voter intention surveys. The two leading candidates, Luis Arce and Carlos Mesa, have already cast their votes early today. The polls opened at 8 a.m. Voting will continue until 5 p.m. and we will not be receiving preliminary results. And the Electoral Authority President has cautioned and urged patience. Some of the vote count will begin to come in, but the process will take the next few days. This area is not highly militarized as in other places. You may have seen that there were a lot of police and military stationed in La Paz. Those videos did circulate around social media, but things at this juncture seem calm, although it has just started, and the administration has seemed poised to provoke certain sectors by using security forces which have been reinforced in certain strategic areas.
Thank you, Camila. And the representative of the Inter-American Union of Electoral Organizations observation mission to the Bolivian general elections, Pamela San Martin, referred to the decision of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal regarding the vote counting method.
We understand the decision the Supreme Electoral Tribunal has made. We understand that it is a decision made timely, prior to this transmission, which was in response to the concerns of citizens to favor certainty, to ensure that there is an adequate flow of electoral results and generate confidence amongst the citizenry. With a little more time, not with haste, but in an electoral process in which what has to be guaranteed above all is the certainty of the election results, which is precisely why we understand the decision that the Supreme Electoral Tribunal has adopted.
And Bolivia's de facto government minister, Arturo Murillo, has voiced threats against national and international observers, stating that they must not interfere with the electoral process.
And ask all those who have come from abroad to help us control the vote, those who have been endorsed by the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, and those who have not. Those who have been invited by the MAS, also all are welcome. The only thing we ask is that they do not interfere.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. As Bolivians head to the polls in the country's general elections, we welcome activist Alejandra Casas-Lozada to offer her analysis of the process. Alejandra, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Alejandra, what are your thoughts on the process in the lead up to these elections, which come after the coup against President Evo Morales last year, as well as several delays to the vote by the de facto regime?
Bolivians today are going to the polls amid a political crisis. There's a lot of tension. Bolivians have also gone to buy foods for the next few weeks. They're not sure what could happen from this. If we just do a quick summary of what's happened, yes, the coup happened last year. The coup leaders or the interim government therefore changed the president of the electoral court, so it's appointed by the coup, and he's now organizing these elections. The elections were postponed 3 times, if not 4 times, all with the pretext of the coronavirus. And more recently, yesterday, we saw the incident with the Argentine deputy and the diplomats in Bolivia. And you can see La Paz and lots of the main cities in Bolivia are militarized. And the Minister of Government is basically threatening the international observers and anyone who dares to speak out against the elections. So it's a tense situation right now. We don't know what to expect. But everybody is trying to stay as calm as possible. But it's not. There's like a quiet tension, and we're ready to see what happens and to act on it.
Alejandra, according to all of the polls, the movement towards socialism's candidate, presidential candidate and vice presidential candidates are set to win the elections and likely in the first round. What do you think the possible scenarios are in the context of the expected mass victory and the de facto regime's moves to cling on to power?
So between Bolivians, we're uneasy about the elections because a good significant part of the country believes that the government isn't going to give up power. After committing massacres and completely avoiding or not paying attention to the constitution, it's unlikely that they will hand power back to the Mass Party. Or there could be attempts to do an actual fraud, electoral fraud, in favor of either one of the candidates, of the right-wing candidates that are being supported by the USA. Therefore, as we saw in the news, the MAS has developed a system where they can keep track of the actas, which are the final tallies of each table, so they can track the elections, the results, as well alongside the electoral court. Those are what people are thinking at the moment, but there's still hope that the international observers can make some pressure on the government to act democratically and respect the results. And everybody is the whole world has their eyes on Bolivia right now, so we are hoping that democracy can return back to Bolivia.
Alejandra, as you said, all eyes are on Bolivia today. What do you think is the importance of the elections, not only for Bolivia itself, but for the region as a whole?
Okay, so Bolivia at the moment, it's a struggle for democracy. As we know now, the coup has been financed by the USA. There was diplomats or ambassadors representing the European Union, the government of Brazil. So the international right wing have organized to make the coup happen in Bolivia, and now it's a fight for democracy, not just in Bolivia, for the democracy of Bolivia, but also its significance in the region. of the geographical disputes of between the right and left in the Americas. You know, you have the Lima Group on one side with support of the USA and the OAS, who constantly attack Venezuela or Nicaragua, and I guess Bolivia would have been in the same category. And now this is a democratic fight or battle to go back to the mass parties, to bring back democracy in Bolivia, where the majority decide who's their government, and in this case, the Bolivian people last year voted for Evo Morales and voted for the mass party, and they had their votes, or they had their will denied, and here we are again a year after, and we're hoping this time our votes will be respected.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Alejandra, and for offering your insight on these hugely important general elections in Bolivia, and we look forward to welcoming you to the show again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to go to a short pause now, a short break, so stay with us for more. Welcome back to From the South. Guinean President Alpha Condé has cast his vote in the country's presidential election underway this Sunday, while calling on the population to attend the polls in a peaceful manner.
It's not a matter of pressure. My hope is that the election will be free, democratic and transparent, and that everything will take place in peace and tranquility. We are going to make sure that the polling stations are safe. Guinea cannot develop without peace, security and unity. So we call on candidates to avoid any act of violence. If someone to cause unrest, national and international awareness will be duly raised. We want the people of Guinea to be able to express themselves freely, to make their choice without any interference, and for the observers to play their role in order to verify that the vote went well. I hope that the observers from the Economic Community of West African States and the African Union will be able to go into the country to ascertain for themselves that the vote was transparent, democratic and free.
Likewise, President of the Opposition Union of Democratic Forces of Guinea, the party, Cellou Dalein Diallo, cast his vote this Sunday, while claiming that his party was set to win the elections.
I appeal to all my supporters to show restraint and responsibility so that this election takes place in the best possible conditions. I have no doubts about the outcome of the ballot, which is why I do not want violence to disrupt the ballot and compromise my victory to a certain extent. I am not worried about the outcome of the election. I have major concerns of peace and cohesion if Mr. Alpha Condé tries to seize power through cunning and violence. This will not be acceptable to our supporters and to the Guinean patriots who will have voted for change.
And nearly 5 million voters are eligible to cast their ballots in Guinea's presidential election this Sunday, in which President Alpha Condé faces 11 challengers, of whom former Prime Minister Cellou Dalein Diallo is his strongest rival. President Condé is seeking to extend his mandate after the country's constitution was changed earlier this year, allowing him to run for a third term. The two main presidential candidates draw their support from Guinea's largest two ethnic groups, with the possibility that the results will aggravate ethnic tensions in the country.
This vote is important because it will allow world opinion to see how mature Guinea is. It can somewhat confirm our maturity in terms of democracy and society. That is why this vote is very important for us. I have no worries. Everything will be fine. I'm sure it will. You have seen, look, we are all here in peace and it will continue. All we wish is that the election go well and that after the result we continue our lives as before.
A suicide car bombing killed at least 13 people and wounded more than 100 others in Afghanistan's Western Ghor province on Sunday. According to the head of a local hospital, emergency staff were treating dozens of people with both serious and minor injuries, while the death toll was expected to rise. Interior Ministry spokesman Tariq Aran said the car bomb struck near the entrance of the provincial police chief's office and other nearby government buildings. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the bombing, which comes amid an increase in attacks by the Taliban, as representatives of the group and Afghan government officials hold their first ever face-to-face talks in Qatar, where the Taliban has had a political office for many years.
Unfortunately, as a result of the horrific incident which happened today, a number of people were martyred and wounded. 13 dead bodies and 105 wounded victims were brought to the hospital. 15 serious wounded victims were operated since their arrival, and 5 others are waiting for their operations. We were inside the police chief's office on the 4th floor when suddenly an explosion happened. All the glass from the windows fell on us, and I got wounded. I came down to the compound, and then we were evacuated to hospital.
And on Sunday, Afghanistan's chief peace envoy Abdullah arrived in Tehran for talks with senior Iranian officials on his country's ongoing peace process. Abdullah arrived in the Iranian capital for a 3-day visit, where he'll meet with a host of officials, including President Hassan Rouhani and Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif. Beforehand, Abdullah visited Pakistan and India, where he discussed the Afghan peace process with senior officials. His trip comes amid ongoing peace negotiations between Afghan government representatives and the Taliban. On Sunday, Israel's limits on movement were lifted and some businesses reopened, as some restrictions imposed during a month-long nationwide lockdown were relaxed. Israel imposed a second nationwide lockdown on September 18th, as the country saw a surge in COVID-19 case numbers, shutting down schools, restaurants and hotels, among other businesses. Daycare and preschools for children aged up to 6 years old have reopened, as have businesses without walk-in customers, and restaurants are allowed to offer takeouts.
Today, with the cancellation of the 1,000 meters restriction, people from the outside can enter. During the past month, it was only allowed for local residents and people living within the 1,000 meters restriction. This is the difference today, and I hope we'll feel the change later.
I'm feeling great because I have my coffee in my hand and I can go out of my house, and I came to train here people that I trained in Zoom all the time, and now I could do it face to face. It was great.
And we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.